Here we are, 4 days away from Elimination Chamber, and ticket sales are still terrible for WrestleMania. Dan, um,
Yeah.
I heard they discounted prices now, which crazy. Because then I think, when do you think we're gonna get a discount of them doing? Because they're doing the SmackDown before, they're doing the Raw, and then Mania in Vegas. When do you think they just throw a whole package together for that to try and get people to buy?
They used to do that, didn't they?
I thought
Like
so.
you used to be able, like those big priority packages, you used to be able to get the SmackDown before, the Raw after. If
Yeah.
there was an NXT show in the middle, you could get that, and then all that other stuff. But I haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah, I think it was back
Um,
when they were only doing one night of WrestleMania.
yeah,
So that probably had something
yeah.
to do with it. But yeah, it's I don't know. I guess um since I am a subscriber to SiriusXM, no big deal. $4.99 a month. You know, got that deal locked in for the next however many months. Um there was a lot of callers today that were saying how they have their hotels booked and their airfare booked, but they're not sure if they're going to go to Mania because they don't want to pay what the prices are. So they're going to do everything else that is around, right, the event, right? Because all the big indie shows go and they basically block out that week of doing shows everywhere that they can, right? It's great PR. You get a ton of wrestling fans there in an area. It's the easiest way to get your best ticket sales ever. Um, is that because Raw and SmackDown have felt pretty safe as of late? Because
I mean, maybe.
we don't really like I think in the past we felt like we've had something that we expected to see at Mania by now, right? I mean, we are 7, 8 weeks out still, so that probably could still play a role into it. But like, I think it was at least 10 to a dozen callers on Busted Open throughout the day have called in and said, "Listen, you know, this is what we're doing because of the Busted Open show is going to be live. Bully's going to have his own show there live. They got all the indie shows that they could pay less than a third of the price to go to, like if they could get tickets to. Um, yeah, I guess, and M- Matt Hardy was talking about it on his podcast. Did you happen to see any clips from that?
Those clips.
So, from the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy podcast, everybody should tune into that. It was pretty good, but he was talking about it's the two big obstacles he sees is basically selling out that venue for a second consecutive year. So it's almost like the way that it sounded, like he thinks that they should have gave Vegas a break for a year and then come back to it even bigger, right? Which
Mhm.
not a bad idea, not a bad idea. And he said also because of the current economic conditions, which you know, it's you can't lie, that's not an issue. Um, you know what I mean? Like it's like T gets that Endeavor or WWE is very confident and that they'll be able to do it. But excuse me. But then if you read any of the reports on what the tickets are, I've seen ticket sales are done down as high as 30%, but majority of the articles I've seen has that 19 to 20% range. So it kind of depends, right? Like what sources are being used for this, right? Like, but granted, if the ticket prices, so this is how I'm viewing it. If the tickets are up, which we saw the prices, so they are up from last year, they technically don't have to do a sellout again to say this is the most lucrative WrestleMania ever, right? Because the prices are up. So
Right.
if they hit a majority of their ticket goals, that's going to cover whatever downfall that they may have. And let's be honest, it's you know you can't trust a wrestling company when it comes to ticket sales numbers. It's kind of like when a tech company goes for their initial IPO, right? It's going to be like inflated tremendously.
Right.
So it's like, you know, it's interesting. I don't know. Like we've talked about it before that yes, it's still the event of all events. That people will still go. People will still go to the area. But man, oh man, if this one's bad, and then they head to Saudi next year, right? Is it Saudi next year? That could
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
that could be two pretty stale WrestleManias.
Yeah, I
Bec-
mean, next year though they won't care because it's a fixed cost for them anyway, right?
yeah,
Or a fixed price, right? Because they're getting paid for that show.
yep, yeah.
You
It's
know,
all
the
yeah. It's
ticket
already
sales
on the
won't.
books. Yep.
Right, ticket sales probably won't really. Well, that was evident by the Royal Rumble, right? Because they only built a 25,000 person spot, so they clearly didn't really care about ticket sales, right? Or at least WWE didn't, because they turned down the ability to have it in a 50,000 arena, to go over there. So it'll all be about the viewership part, you know, and if they can get more subscriptions and however that works. Although, then again, I guess they don't care about that either because, right, the ESPN deal pays them X amount regardless, right? It's on ESPN to get more subscriptions. I don't know why I keep saying prescriptions. Subscriptions. So, yeah, I mean that could be part of the problem, right? Because they they're not as dependent as much as they used to be on creating a product that is a must see event in person and people willing to pay that pricing. Whether it's the fact that they can stay home and stream it for $30 a month or whatever it is, 38, whatever it is. Um, and they're getting a lot of, you know, fixed payments for a lot of this. They're just swimming in that money regardless of how it does for the most part, right? So then you can get a little maybe even subconsciously complacent.
Yep.
And I know they want ticket sales and I'm sure they get a piece of that, but right, like Vegas, right, wasn't the whole story like the whole idea that they when they made that switch to say we're going back to Vegas when it was floating that they were maybe going to where Indy or whatever it was because Vegas made them an offer they couldn't refuse to
Well,
bring them back.
and they made 66 million in ticket sales from the two events last year.
Right. So, you know, there's got to be less risk for them and maybe that's a little bit of why it's come that way.
Yeah.
It's gone this way.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Like I don't know, man. I just like I don't know. I don't know. Like so for Raw yesterday, they had current setup was 11,933. Tickets distributed 11,722. So they only had 211 tickets. Year to date is around 11,600. Total number of seats on that map were 15,000. So it's not affecting those shows yet. Um, but I mean, it's interesting. Like I just find this so interesting because it's like, are we watching a company getting ready to go off a cliff, or like, do they know something that we don't know, and they're about to cash in big time and get even bigger, right? It's like that's what it feels like to me constantly when I read these articles back and forth. Because I mean, obviously, with this being on the business side of it, you can see the good and bad of what's happening, right? Like, so I guess in 2023, right? WrestleMania 39. What was the average ticket price you think, Dan? Now this is from our boy Brandon Thurston. So it's adjusted for inflation to 2025 USD. But what do you think the average ticket price was in 2023?
I don't even know, but I guess I'll just throw out like 675.
169.
What the hell?
2024 WrestleMania 40, 341.
Okay.
And 2025, which he has pointed out this is a 2-night era, 635. So within a 2-year span, it jumped $500 minimum, say. And I don't know if this is including fees, taxes, whatever, but this is it's interesting. It's I don't like and supposedly VIP seats are 28K, box seats are 5 to 6K. Would you ever pay 5 grand for a wrestling show?
No, not
Eh,
unless I like won the lottery and just had that kind of money just sitting there.
Not unless the Sky Prince was going to do a moonsault and end up landing in your lap.
Yeah, that too.
Um I guess, and people are comparing it to the Super Bowl, the NBA All Star Game, and the UEFA Champions League final. My disagreement with that is, I don't think we ever considered them a family friendly event. If there's one thing that Vince did right under his tenure, he had wrestling at a family friendly price range. What did you say? A majority of the time,
A majority of the time. I mean, I think WrestleMania tickets have
you're right.
just continuously got out of hand. I'd be interested to see some of the statistics behind how that 169 average price because I mean, I've looked every year for the last 10 years and I don't think I've ever seen a price below that number. So to get to that average, how the hell do you get below that number? Or how do you not have tickets below that number? But I don't know. I'd be very interested on how they're doing that because I mean, I think the cheapest I remember seeing would be nosebleeds for like 400 bucks, you know?
I
So
saw.
unless there's some like super promo price that I never was aware of, you know?
What was the WrestleMania in Jersey?
Mm, I don't remember.
35. It was 30. There it is. MetLife. I remember seeing somewhat tick. You weren't in the nosebleeds, but you weren't like right up on the wall. So you're kind of in, I would say, the middle section, right? Which I feel like would be a good seat for WrestleMania. I remember seeing tickets for 250 to 285 for that one because I was debating driving down
Right.
that year for that. And that's
Right.
2019. That's prior to COVID. That's the year
Right.
prior to
And even
when the
that,
world ended.
right? Even that's even that's higher than an average of 169. So that would indicate there were prices lower than that. But
Yeah.
I just don't know where they're seeing that. I mean, even looking this year, like the lowest, and this makes a little more sense if this year's average is going to be 700 or more. The lowest price for a single night ticket, at least available right now, which is like 5 rows from the last row in the top section, is 218 for a ticket. And again, that's based on or one night. The combo ticket obviously is twice that, but so I'm just interested. I would be interested to see like how they and calculate all that. But I just can't remember the last time I've seen a price like all that low for WrestleMania. I mean, even remember when it was a couple years ago, right? We looked at SummerSlam in what, Cleveland, maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, even those tickets were 300-400 for like nosebleeds for SummerSlam when we looked at them. So I don't know. Very interesting for sure.
yeah, it is something. I want to go and I want to be able to bring the boys one day, but I just don't know if it's gonna be worth it. Um, so it'll be interesting. Interesting. So I think tickets will eventually get there. I don't think it will be at the numbers that they were last year for tickets sold, but I don't think they'd have to be, as we discussed, just based on the price range. Um, so on that note, should we get to what happened on Raw, Dan?
Yeah, might as well.
What did you feel about Raw? Because there's two things that I'm going to point out to you that I felt were pretty awkward, and I still don't know how I feel about them.
Wait, say it again. Sorry.
So, what are your thoughts on Raw from last night? Because there are two separate segments that when I was watching it, I was just like, this is friggin' weird. And that's the best way that my brain can describe it today. Is like this, like these two segments were just weird.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's followed the same kind of like pattern it's been, recently for me, where it hasn't been anything all that like special, and it hasn't always been bad, but it just hasn't been something that I sit there and go, man, I'm really glad I didn't miss this, at all. Um, so it's just they've been kind of just plodding along, and we're not getting anywhere with a lot of stuff, right? Like it's just a lot of like rehash, and the only thing, in theory special last night was all the tribute stuff for AJ, but uh, you know, otherwise I don't think much of it, you know.
Um, did you? How do I put this? Those 3 years of the Bloodline. Do you think that spoiled us?
Um, I mean, I guess that's one way to see it for sure, but I don't know, like it's tough too because it becomes a little bit of like, well, we've been spoiled at different points with like really great stuff that it just doesn't last forever. Whether it's NWO originally, DX, right, Monday Night Wars in general, like,
Yeah,
and
there's
then you
always an
move
end date.
into right, and then like you move into some other great stories that follow that, or just like similar stories, and then you kind of like you get Cody's return and like that whole story for a while, and that was really good. And yeah, Roman and the bloodline, and like Roman as this like unbeatable kind of heelish guy with Heyman, and like yeah, and then like he forms like this whole bloodline, and that gets going, and then they add to it, and then for a little bit like bloodline versus bloodline, and whatever, like that didn't last as long, but yeah, now they don't really have any of that, right? And so like we're in this like transition period sort of where you don't really have a bloodline for the most part, but like you still have Roman like being being billed as like the original tribal chief, but there's no second tribal chief anymore, because like there's kind of like Solo, but you don't really see that as much, right? And like I can't even tell you what's really going on with Solo's group anymore. That's how like not impactful that is. And you've got, you had Jay's ascension for a while, but that kind of just like fell off. And now he's kind of like there, but not there. And he's back with his brother as a tag team, but then sometimes he's still doing things singly. It's just, yeah, there's a lot of like transition. So they're in a weird phase. And then some of their injuries have kind of screwed that up too,
Yeah.
all across the board. And like you have some good stuff with Punk and you've had some good stuff with Punk, but even that I mean, they did the Punk Drew thing for too long, even though like, part of it was good. And then they just kept doing it and doing it and doing it and got too long. Now it's a little bit better. Uh, yeah, maybe spoiled is the right way to put it, but I think we've been spoiled a lot, so they just got to figure it out.
Yeah. Have they done enough in the past to have you give them the benefit of the doubt until we get to WrestleMania? Or are you starting to get concerned that we don't have anything really planned out yet? Or that it feels like we don't have anything planned out yet?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not concerned necessarily. Yet. I do, you know, give them the benefit of the doubt generally because, you know, they they do time and time again eventually figure it out. But we've gone through long periods of like things like sucking. I mean, we went through a period of how many? I mean, it felt like what, maybe almost 2 years of Raw being terrible.
It was longer than that.
First,
Yeah, it was
right?
it was definitely longer than that. Because at that time, I was just catching the half-hour updates that they were putting on to Hulu. Because I said I'm not wasting any time watching this under Vince. Like it was that bad for some of the episodes.
Yeah. I think I think what has happened is even more so we've run into this world of they just don't build they just don't build things the way they used to no matter what, right? Like they leave it until the last possible minute, and every once in a while they get stories that have like these Easter eggs and little hints throughout time, and then they pull it together. But they don't generally like build these super long-term stories anymore, and we've kind of seen a little bit of it on, this Unreal documentaries and episodes that they're doing, where, and I guess maybe it's always been like this, but the they're building it backwards, right? Like they know where they want to go, and they kind of say, okay, well, if we're going to end here at WrestleMania, you know how do we build to that from the day after the last year's WrestleMania? And it's a very slow burn in getting there. And then they wait and they wait and they wait, and maybe they do a couple of teases here and there, and then they wait and they wait and they wait, and then you hit middle of March, and then all of a sudden they're like full steam ahead, right? Whereas maybe in the past, like I mean, maybe a unique example, but you can go all the way back to Rock and Cena, right? And them announcing that match almost a year in advance, right? And at the time, it took a lot of criticism for doing it that way, but they made it work. But when you think back to even Monday Night Wars time, a lot of that was what you knew 2 or 3 months in advance, like, oh, it's going to be Hogan and Sting, at Halloween Havoc or whatever it was, right? And it was announced like 3 months ahead, and then there were no real like title matches until then, and there was just every week for 3 months was something to do with that, right? And maybe little things along the way to kind of take that storyline off track for a minute or two, but then get right back to it. They just don't do that as much anymore, you
Do
know.
do you think it's more or less because they refer to themselves as an entertainment company now? They're fully divested into that type of product instead of them. I felt like under Vince, like we still got wrestling and entertainment. I've and under Hunter, it feels like he's been trying to compete with Michael Bay instead of competing with Tony Khan.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a little. I don't know. You know, I think the problem, like under Vince, because we would complain then too, right, for a long time. Because under Vince, you got wrestling, but a lot of times you just got like big guy versus not
Big,
big guy,
right?
right? And that just like got annoying too, because it was just like, or like the random person that he saw that he would push on you, like they did with Roman for a long time when it wasn't ready, right? They weren't the universe wasn't ready to accept Roman as this top guy, and they just shoved it down our faces and our throats until it didn't matter, right? So I'm sure that's a little bit of it, and the expectations of what they have to meet to satisfy their obligations and all these contracts they have with all these different services and companies and all that. But I don't know if it's all the driving of it, because still in those room, I mean, even though Vince isn't in that room anymore, half the guys there worked for Vince,
Well,
right? Like
there's been a few
doing a
times he's
similar
been there.
role.
Yeah,
Well, you know what I mean. But like, right, like Bruce is still there, and Michael Hayes is still there, and obviously, like, while Triple H might have a different way of thought process, like he's been there for a long time, the Vince side too. So I don't know, like, if it's just, I don't know if it's more of a focus on entertainment or if it's just a natural little bit of evolution, right? Like in general of viewership, like a younger generation has a much shorter time, attention span, right? And a lot of entertainment is being built towards the idea that, where did I just see this? And I don't know if it was related to a WWE thing or not, or maybe something even you sent me. I can't remember, but it was somebody like talking about this, where entertainment is changing in a lot of different ways, whether it be regular TV shows and originals through streaming services, with the idea that the average consumer that they're going for, the 18 to whatever, is watching a show while on their phone, and their attention span is going, you only get a few minutes of their time every 15 minutes, and so you have to be building it, and you have to be repeating it over and over again. You're right that you know that's why certain movies and shows and episodes are almost like reinforcing the same thing in each little section, because they know they don't have 100% attention anymore of a large part of their demographic they're looking for. So they're doing it in 60-second clips almost, because that's what the algorithm is on TikTok and Twitter and all them, right? Like, or X or whatever. So I think a lot of it's changing, and there's probably data that shows them all that, and they're evolving with that. And for people like us, we don't necessarily love that, because that's not how we enjoyed this for all this time, you know?
right. Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Um, yeah, like we said before, it's just a very interesting time. Um, because you always wonder, like, is the move that they're doing, um, the right move, right? And it seems like more times than not, they've been right. So I am a little frustrated. We don't really have anything besides what Punk and Roman for Mania, so that'd probably be night two. Um, you're probably gonna have probably gonna have Rhea and Io in a tag title match at Mania, which a lot of people hate. Do you hate that idea that R- Rhea is doing a tag match at Mania?
I don't know if I hate it, but I don't love it for sure. Um,
I just think it shows what she can do. I don't think it's that big of a deal. She's still on the show, and the pop she gets when she comes out with Dio is still huge, right? So I don't know. Have you ever listened to the Cheap Heat podcast by Peter Rosenberg? He does a Wrestle
yeah.
podcast as well, and um, he's saying. So remember what I told you? I think Cody has to do, which
Hmm.
is go away for a while.
Yeah.
He wants to see Rhea go away for a while and then come back by herself. She's the biggest star in the female division. You just want her to be like, all right, I'm taking a vacation.
I mean, sometimes they do that, right? Like, I mean, Seth has done it, Cody's done it, Roman's done it, right? Like,
But those all have been aided by injuries. Yes, they took time for
sometimes.
themselves. Roman's just on the old school Brock schedule. Like that, you know what I mean? Like he
Yeah.
shows up, works. All right, I'm good. I'll see you guys in 2026. Right? Like that's what he actually said after the one pay per view to his cousins. He said, "Don't talk to me. Don't call me. I'll see you at the Rumble or something." He said. Remember that? Is that when he lost the belt
Yeah,
again?
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. And like, yeah, I mean, my thing is like it can work, and like sometimes like absence makes the heart grow fonder a little bit and helps even more for somebody who's already super popular, right? Because I guess that too, like if like as being like the most popular in the division and within the company, generally speaking, that's where I don't love the tag match either, right? Like I don't hate it at all, but I just don't love it, right? And she's in the chamber, and so I assume she's not going to win the chamber. So I
Who's
don't.
in the chamber?
It's Tiffany, Rhea, Alexa, Asuka, Kiana James, and Raquel Rodriguez. So, and that would in theory be to face Jade. So, well, it is going to be to face Jade because Liv and Stephanie that
Oh,
got
Rhea is
confirmed,
in
right?
there.
So,
Yeah.
so it's like, so who's coming out of that then? If Rhea's path is going to be a tag match, fine. So who's coming out of that for Jade? And it's like, okay, is it Tiffany?
I think it's
Is
gonna
it
be Raquel. I think they're
right? So
I
is it
think they're putting it
Raquel?
on her.
So I mean, I guess that's fine too, but again, like if Rhea's one of your biggest people, like I don't know if sticking her in a tag is the best use of her. So to a degree, I could see the go away for a little bit and then come back to an even bigger pop, right?
Yeah.
Like she's gonna get a big pop either way, but if you take her away for a little bit, and then people are kind of like, "Whoa, where the hell has she been, or what's going on there?" And then boom, she shows up a little unexpected. I mean, it just puts her a little bit even higher than that pop already would have been. Yeah, and then people are like super excited, right? You can't do it all the time, but once in a while, right? Like that's what they were doing with Charlotte, right? Forever, and it was just annoying after a while, right? Like yeah, there was a time when Charlotte was up at the top, and then you kept like taking her away, and then she'd randomly show up and win, and just like Brock too, like it just gets old after a while, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it took longer, but even with Roman, it got a little old towards the end, right? Admittedly, it did take longer for that to happen with Roman, but it did get a little like, all right, he's here. To your point, he's here. Now we're not going to see him for 2 or 3 months, but he's going to have a title match and he's going to come in and he's going to smash someone, and like, or, or whatever. So it's interesting. It's delicate. And I think it depends on who it is, right? Like it's not a formula that fits every person. I think it takes a certain kind. And for me, Rhea's one of those people, at least right now, where You could do that, and I think get even more out of it if you did something like that.
I think
Can't do that with everyone.
I think the women's division takes a serious hit then, because then you need to desperately take the title off of Bianca. Because I just don't like if I'm in agreement. Like if that's the plan and like you think that's what's gonna work for Rhea, so be it. But I think then you need to have Bianca drop immediately, because that title's dead. Like it's just it it's just dead with her. It's just like it's the like this is probably gonna be really mean of me to say because I was very excited when they signed her. But Jade with that title feels like Tony Nese with the 205 live title. Like, what are we doing? But let's tie this back to Raw if we can. So,
Yeah.
you want to go through Raw, or you want me to tell you the two things I thought were very weird, and we could go from there, Dan?
Let's go to the two weird things. I mean, there were just, there wasn't a lot match wise on Raw that, other than just a couple of little things, but I bet you most of it's going to be covered in what you're about to tell me. So let's go with that.
What do you think it's gonna be, Dan?
I'm assuming the Brock Paul promo is one of them, but maybe I'm wrong.
Correct.
All right. The other one, another weird one, is it going to be anything to do with Javon Evans?
No, no.
I mean, his
the
match
OG.
was just like,
No,
what are we doing with that match?
The OG. Anybody that stands there and tells the due date to their face that they suck, I would never say a bad thing about. Let's go back a year, maybe 2, maybe 3 years. The original judge of the locker room, the favorite figure that I loved to once collect, always had a complaint how he didn't like wrestlers having Twitter, didn't like wrestlers doing their Twitch streaming, because it broke their character of the business. It broke the third wall. Well, this same asshole has turned into the DoorDash of I'm going to tell you you're in the Hall of Fame for the last 2.5 consecutive years. That's what the dead man's up to now?
Wasn't that after they went off air? That's why I wasn't thinking about that.
It was still on air. It was still on Netflix.
Was it officially on air?
Yeah,
they
showed the credits. So they went through like the 12 people in charge, which we know it's more than just Hunter and his daughters in charge. But so be it. Yeah. This asshole, the one that complains about all of the younger wrestlers breaking their character when they're at airports and, not being the company person and blah, blah, blah. Mr. Grubhub himself of let me inform you, you're in the Hall of Fame. I do not want to hear another 90 generation wrestler or a wrestler that was in his prime in the 90s come out and say anything about these young guys that are coming through the business now doing too much character-wise. Because the man that was built on, first of all, he came out to a shitty song. Secondly, like, let's be honest. Kid Rock's charging $5,000 tickets. Like, so, he should visit Mexico this time of year. I hear it's great. Comes out to the badass song, which, so be it. Looks like he forgot how to ride his bike because he was like penguin his legs on the side of the bike as he came down. Could be his steel hips. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Comes out and says, what, you're going to leave everything here? And then, we got unfinished business. No. That should have been business that never happened. Because you were nowhere near the quality to be in that graveyard match with AJ. First of all. Okay? That's a blemish on AJ's record. Then he tells them, he changes some quote. You ever hear what was the quote? Hold on. You ever hear the quote, if you see me, you're already gone? Or something like that?
Yeah, if you see me, coming, you're already gone, I think.
And then he changed it to, if you see me, then whatever, but I'm here to tell you you're in the Hall of Fame.
Well, yeah, if you he changed it to if you see me coming, you're already going, and then said to the Hall of Fame or whatever he said, like something like that.
I can't tell you how much that pissed me off.
Really?
Because the amount of crap he sits on that LFG stage and gives these young characters, these young wrestlers that are trying to just get a little bit ahead in the contest about protecting their character. And this asshole comes out and does this. Like, I'm just like, buddy, enough. We don't want to hear from you anymore. Like, we get it. Like, stick to your LFG script. We get it. You were one of the greatest at the time. Some say you belong on Mount Rushmore. I have you just outside of Mount Rushmore. But, like, if this is your new gimmick for you to still keep collecting those legend paychecks, is to be Tunter and Stephanie's DoorDash guy of, hey, we're dropping this off. You got in the Hall of Fame. Then please, like, stop critiquing. It just doesn't make sense to me. Because then you basically just killed your character of being the scariest thing ever, to being the most dominant ever, to all of a sudden you're giving everybody hugs and it's okay to break the third wall. Like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? I just like
Yeah,
I'm so sick of seeing him do, I'm just like, this can't be the same guy that basically just yelled at a wrestler on LFG because he heard this wrestler wasn't protecting his character walking through the airport because somebody caught him. Hey, are you on LFG? And he stopped to sign an autograph, but he's supposed to be a big scary character. Like, bro, what are we doing? Like,
yeah. I guess I never thought about that way because I mean he's been pretty clear about this since retiring that like now that he's chosen to break, he'll never go back, right? Like, and why he claims, and with the exception of one soccer game over in Saudi Arabia, right? He has never put on
the
the
full
actual
gimmick.
gear again, and he's not doing the slow, silent walk down with an urn. And like he's made it pretty clear, like you'll never see that again. You'll see iterations of like a little bit of that with like the American Badass, which we saw at WrestleMania, right? Like they'll do the gong and they'll do the lights off and then he appears, but he's going to be in mostly plain clothes and, that's it. And like he's going to do his thing and then he's going to roll out. Um,
Wait, was that a pun intended there?
which part?
The
No. So which part?
roll out part? Because he did use the Limp Bizkit song the one time.
Oh yeah, no. Oh
I
yeah,
was
the
like,
role. Yeah, no. But like he's made it kind of clear, like you'll never see that again because now that he feels like he's broken that wall that he did have, he can't go back because of the way he feels that you have to protect the character. But now that the character is retired, you know, he, like he can break it. Well, he's not breaking it anymore. It's gone in a way. Like that version of him is gone, and he'll never go back to it. So there's nothing to protect anymore. It's a legacy. It's a history. That's how I've always wondered because that's why he does all this podcast stuff, and he was okay with
yeah,
telling the stories. And now
yeah.
he's right. Like
No, he's like a
he
historian now. I get that,
right.
but then like he's also said like the the badass taker is basically him every day. So if that's technically true, like his badass gimmick is just him in his regular clothes and his bikes and doing whatever he wants.
Right.
Like,
It's
that's
it's
fine.
it's Mean Mark.
Right. That's fine, but like, let's not like tear down a young wrestler that's just trying to scratch, and you know how hard it is to get noticed in the business because a 6'8" monster that's on LFG that's probably been paid $50 a show and for free hot dogs is excited that he got to sign some kid's autograph. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like what? Like
Yeah,
it
I
just.
don't disagree. I don't disagree with you that
I.
like
It's just so
his
weird to
old
me.
school his like old school thinking on how you like become him someday or what
Yeah.
he was, right? Like I agree he's a little outdated with you have to do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
Like we just don't live in that world anymore of, you know, really
Right.
like, like the people are smart
Right.
to the business in that sense, and they've been smart for a long time. Um, so yes, I agree. Although I think there is maybe he goes about it the wrong way, but I think there is like something to be said of some of these young people learning a little bit about maybe not that you have to protect it as much as he did, but you know, you have to be a little careful, right?
Yeah.
Because like I don't yeah I don't know like it would seem
There is a good and bad that goes along with it. I'm just like I guess
right.
my point is like if he is technically mean Mark all the time now, I'm just getting tired of seeing like these older generation wrestlers like tear down these kids because they're not going full into the business and it's like, bro, like what are you doing on a podcast if like
Right.
you know what I mean? Like it's kind of what um like it's kind of like once again this past week have you caught up with the click this podcast?
Not this week, no.
So did you see what you might have saw this headline, but did you see what Nash got criticized for?
No.
He said he wished the young OG was more urban and referred to him as Mr. Bojangles.
Okay.
Like, what are we doing? Right? Like, this is the guy that basically like tore into Raquel because she doesn't she's had some bad times where she just doesn't look like she knows how to use her size in the ring, right? And because of the feedback that he gave on, I think it was like 3 straight weeks of consecutive podcasts of like, because it was the first week he said she didn't really belong in the ring because she can't do this and this and this. And then, of course, when they got like feedback questions, the next week he answered those questions and tried to explain what he kind of meant some more, and it kind of dug the hole deeper. And at the time, she would fight in that thing that could have killed her because it put her body into an allergic reaction all the time. And then she dropped weight because he basically made a comment about her weight, right? Like it's like, but like what are like that's my gripe that I'm starting to get with this generation of wrestlers that we loved. Is like I'm watching them have Fox News type comments in regards to this younger generation instead of coaching them up. And I'm sure a lot of them go to the performance center when they're called or when they're asked to check out a talent and give advice and say, "Listen, I think you have this that's good. I think you got to work on this." I'm sure they do that. But the only time it seems that we hear from them is when it's like it's tearing it down. And it's like, let's be honest, like, and maybe that's because of how Vince was with a lot of them, right? Like, that's probably what stuck with them from that period of time. But it's just like I'm so tired of like I've just after the Nash thing and after the Undertaker thing, I'm just like, bro, what are we doing? What is this older generation doing? It just doesn't make sense for the business right now because if they just help push it along, like it could get bigger, but they could also be the thing that pulls it down a little. And you really don't want that to see it happen because I feel like WWE, just like any other sport, right? No matter how good you are, you always have to start preparing for the future, right? So which means you always got to
Yeah.
stockpile draft picks. You always got to look at who's coming through the draft, or if you can trade for younger players. And I think with what they did this past 6 to 8 months with everybody in NXT, everybody that they signed, what they've been able to put on in NXT, I feel like they've done a really good job of preparing us for when the greats such as Orton, Cena, AJ, you know, decide to call it quits. I feel like they've done a good job to put those younger generations in front of us now to basically say, watch these guys now, and your kids are also going to be watching these guys 10 to 15 years from now. They do that extremely well. Extremely well. I can't harp on that enough. But at the same time, I feel like every step forward that WWE takes with that, this older generation crap kind of, it's like, what, bro, don't kill the talent before it's even got a chance to shine. Like, that's my whole thing. So, on that episode of What Grinds the Gears, let's get back to Raw. Um, Vision pretty much dead.
I mean, could be because I don't know what they're doing with Logan and Austin Theory is the last two standing for now, and who knows for how long. Like,
Do you send them after
and
the tag titles?
I mean, I guess you could, but like
Does that do anything
this,
for you?
no, but this also not as the Vision. Like, if
Right,
you just
right.
want to put those two together for a while, fine. But like, this also then plays into like if the plan was for the masked man to be Seth or whomever it is, like who are they really exacting revenge on now?
Correct.
Right? Like
Correct.
because the two guys that you most want to exact revenge on aren't even there.
Correct.
So like how's that going to work? I mean,
Correct.
it's not.
Nope.
Like
No, it's officially WTF. What do we do from here? Like, do you hold off on showing who the masked man is then? Do you have the
maybe
masked man come back if it's Seth and Paul kind of works out an apology? And then Braun and Bronson are the bad guys when they bounce back? Like,
maybe
because this kind of feels like what Judgment Day was at like 6 to 8 months ago, when like Roxanne was the only female that wasn't hurt, but now she's out hurt. I didn't even know that she was
well,
working
yeah.
with an injury for like the last year. Um, so it's like, yeah, I mean, so I guess hiatal hernia, the standard recovery team could take 4 to 6 weeks, but it all depends on the severity. So he might be back in time.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, if they're not, then what are we doing here? Like,
Agreed. Did you catch
it's
when
just bad.
Bronson Reed did it?
I saw like the replays of them like breaking up that pin or whatever, and the
The,
way he like rolled over.
and then the crazy part is he got up and he like traced it with his finger of like, oh, that's
Yeah,
not supposed to be there.
no,
Like that has to be the weirdest of like, oh, that's not good. Like, uh yeah, maybe I should get that looked at type thing, right? Like, you know what I mean?
you know,
Like,
there were a lot of people. There were a lot of people online that were saying that, like, and I don't know, but like saying like, oh, WWE had Seth like fake an injury, as part of the Vision story, and now look what's happened. They've had
karma.
legitimate injuries.
Yeah, you brought that
Like,
up on the podcast.
well, yeah, and I thought it would happen to Seth. I wasn't thinking it would,
All parties
you know,
involved, man.
right. Like, I don't know. Some days, like, you don't, you know, you just you don't play around with fate like that sometimes,
Right. Um
But
um I had a follow up here, but now I forget. So does Paul dump them and go to Brock?
Well, I mean, he's I don't know that he like goes to Brock. I mean, he's with Brock still. So does he dump him? I don't know. I mean, probably, but I mean, the whole story must be completely upside down now because when Breaker gets injured, they probably say, "Okay, not great, but we can like still do this, and we'll use Bronson, right? Like, and we'll use Reed as the guy for now." That Seth comes back to get his revenge on, and like Logan and Austin are just going to be there, as part of it. Um, and you keep Paul there because of that. Now you've lost both of them, and it doesn't really make sense for Seth to exact revenge on Paul and Theory because while they were a part of it, it certainly was the mastermind of Breaker and Reed, and I think it was supposed to be Breaker as the big shot there. I so I don't know what they're going to do there. Like they're going to have to pivot somehow, I would think. Um, Maybe they could use it as a like they could like say, you know what, Logan can be the guy and the leader, and they'll add people maybe or something, but Logan becomes the face in the front and the leader of it, which maybe he could do that. He can definitely obviously lean into being a heel, and be hated, so maybe he can even take that another step as being the leader of a faction and saying, like, I mean, you could even say he could come out tomorrow or whenever, next show and just be like, yeah, those guys are weak. They got injured real quick. They're weak. Like, I'm taking this group over. And maybe you keep Paul with them and maybe you don't. Maybe you have Logan screw Paul and attack Paul and kick him out. Kind of like the Bloodline stuff did for a little bit, right? Maybe you keep Paul with him, to give him a little bit more credibility in what he's doing in his promos and help him. Um, I don't know. I guess you could do that, or you could just say the idea is dead for now. Maybe we resurrect it another time, maybe not. Like we thought we had something, but you can't help real life, and real life screwed us, so we just got to dump it and move on.
Yeah.
You know. I guess that happens sometimes too, right? Like you end up just scrapping stuff because things go wrong and there's no real salvaging it.
Yeah. It has to be the worst luck, right? Like it has to be the worst luck. Um, to tie Brock into this, I know the crowd was chanting for Oba. He returns March 16th, and then he's there until Mania. Do you bring somebody new out every week until that person that they bring out knocks Brock over, and then that's our WrestleMania match? Or does Brock come out every week with Paul? Paul does his gimmick, nobody comes out, then they wait to the next town. What do you think happens?
Um, I think I could be wrong, but my guess is that they're going to bring him out. They're going to do some promos, and a real challenger will not surface until the very end,
To like the week
or
before?
either the week before, or all the way up to a mystery opponent almost, right? And to your point, maybe they do something where somebody comes out and it's not somebody who's really going to be in the match, but they do a, tough guy like, I'll face you. And then Brock F5s him 20 times and walks away. Right. And it's like, okay, there, um, I could see that maybe each time, but I could also say like they could do the build up to be, you know, no one officially until it's whoever that's going to be, and that happens like the Raw before or or all the way up at WrestleMania, and they do it that way, and then it's whomever. Now I don't know, Oba maybe, um, although I think that's interesting, like how that works, like because I don't know, like if it's Oba, like is he losing? Is he going over? Like what are you doing there? Like I think it would be stupid to have him lose, but then is Brock really laying down on the allegedly the road to his retirement here? Like, I don't know.
Right. Eh,
Plus, like, if it's not Oba, then who is it? And is that valuable?
Hear me out. Hear me out, Dan.
Yeah.
This might have been the combination of a vitamin and a Lexapro at 2 a.m. this morning. But hear me out.
Okay.
Paul kept iterating the fact of any man, anyone. What if just one more time the doctor of thugonomics comes back to get his?
Oh, I don't know. He said he wouldn't
I
do
know,
that.
I know, I know, I know. But when you hit that
I
Lexapro and the
believe
vitamin,
him that he
I
won't
do
do
too.
that.
I do too. But
Yeah, I do.
but the but when the brain's on cloud nine, man, everything's feeling like it could happen, Dad. You know? When you're not feeling that RA pain, things feel differently, and you're like, this is a genius idea. It would be insane.
It would be insane. Although we just saw it, right?
Well, like, I guess this is what kind of like aggravates me with this too. So you had Brock show up, F5 Cena, basically kick the crap out of Cena. Cena's now gone. So you're telling me you had no storyline planned for Brock besides an open challenge run? Because that's what this feels like to me. I don't know if this is what this feels like to you, but that's what it feels like to me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they had no other story run for Brock besides an open challenge, which kind of makes me feel like, is this going to be something bigger than we think, right? But then if it's supposed to be Gunther versus Brock to retire Brock at SummerSlam, right? Because that's in Minnesota. Does does that mean Gunther takes the loss at Mania? Because there's no way that you have Gunther beat Brock twice. Beat Brock at Mania and at SummerSlam to retire him. That just wouldn't sit right in the wrestling world. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, is that what we're getting to? Like, is it Jericho? Like, is Jericho popping out of that crate on the 28th? And you're getting Jericho
Over
Brock?
Brock? That's interesting too, but like I don't know that I actually like that.
I don't
Like
either.
I don't
Not
know if
if
I
it's
like
Fat
that
Jericho.
matchup.
No, I don't
Like,
either.
right. Well, I think he's back in shape, but like even as in shape Jericho, like I don't think I like that matchup at all. It's just hard to match up with Brock these days, right? Like if you're not over Femi sized, then like is it really a good you either have to be like Femi sized or like a current like top guy. And Jericho's not a current top guy, even in a return like this, right? Like so you've got to be Cody, Roman, Cena during his run, AJ Styles during his run. Like and I mean, those aren't small guys, but they're small guys compared to Brock, right? Like so I don't know that I like a Jericho Lesnar matchup.
I don't either.
And plus, then that's the same problem I have for that I would have had with or will have if it's Ova or I saw a rumor like maybe LA Knight, but like I have the same problem there. Like,
What are we doing?
what are you doing with that? Because I have trouble thinking Brock loses. So then it's like, hey, don't waste it with Ova and have him lose. Or like Royce Keys, right? Like there's a big guy, and you could do the same storyline Ova might do. Like, hey, I'm a huge guy and you would be the best, biggest test I could do. Let's do it. But then if he doesn't win, and Brock's not really suited for these like 20-minute like matches where it's close and then all of a sudden he kind of wins at the very end. Like that's not his style, that's not
No.
his character, that's not his way. Like he did that. He could do that with like Roman once in a while, but like otherwise that's not his thing. So it would be weird, but like you pretty much have that problem no matter who you put him up against, unless it's like again Roman, Cody, Cena, right? Like those guys. So I don't know. I don't know. It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be weird. That's why I'm not sure if they'll like make it known soon. I think they'll linger right until the end.
Do you think they don't even know?
They might not. They might not.
Hmm. What about Jasper Troy? Do they bring him out to Brock 1 or 2 weeks? He's a season 2 or
Yeah.
season 1 LFG. He's huge.
Yeah, I mean, they could, but to me, like it's the
It doesn't.
same.
Yeah.
It's the same as if it's Ova or Royce in that sense of like, okay, here's a guy who hasn't been there yet, right? And you're putting him into WrestleMania, the grandest stage of all in wrestling, right? And if they're losing, they have to lose in a way that helps them, so they can't get squashed. And Brock is like a squasher. So is it believable that even being the sizes they are, especially when you talk about Ova, like that guy is just like broke the mold. Like they can't be squashed, but are they really going to put on a 10-15 minute I almost had him type match? Like maybe that's the only way you help them in a loss. They either have to win or they have to lose where it was believable they were about to win. And I don't know if you can do that with Brock.
Right.
Maybe you can. I mean, I'll tell you what, if they do it and it happens that way, I'll be impressed. I'll be very impressed. And I'll eat my words right now and say, all right, they fooled me. Brock can do that this time around. He can make it look like this guy was about to beat him and somehow he barely escaped with a victory. But it's just not what he's been the last few years, so I'd be surprised.
If it's Oba and Brock, who wins? Because then
It
you got.
should be it should be Ova, but
But
I
then,
just don't see that.
and doesn't that screw up everything for Gunther and Brock then? If Brock takes a loss
Um,
to Oba,
I mean, it could, but then again, the way you probably get around that is, all right, he loses. Maybe it's not dirty or anything, but maybe it's not 1,000% clean, and he loses, and then he comes back the very next night and he destroys the set, and he destroys everything in the back, and he F5s, every security member there is, and you know, every small wrestler, every C-level person they have on a tear because he's pissed he lost, right? And outcomes, and he comes out there and he says, "I'm not leaving, or I'm not done until I get get my victory back," or whatever it is. And instead of getting Oba, he gets Gunther, who says, "How about this? You can take your chance with me, but if not, you retire." And there's your SummerSlam. You could do it that way if he loses, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I'm all for it.
Right? Like, because Gunther can come out and say, "I'll just add you to my list," right? And Brock will be so enraged from losing the night before, or the day, the weekend, that he'll be like, "Yeah, you're on, buddy. Like, who the hell do you think you are?" You know. Then he takes two losses to end his career, but whatever. I mean, look,
Yeah.
there. Who was I just watching a clip of somebody talking about like how much he was selling during the Rumble? Which is something you don't often think about with him. Uh, and you know, now that he's broken his character, Undertaker has said forever that, look, Brock will do what I did for him when Vince told me you need to let him win and break the streak. Brock will do that for people on his way out. You know,
Yeah, it'll be
he's just
interesting.
so maybe he does it.
It'll be interesting, that's for sure. Um, let's switch gears now. I guess so. Those were the big things that happened on Raw. Overall, like felt like a pretty safe card, as I said before. Um, but yeah. So let's go through the chamber matches. World Heavyweight, Punk and Finn. Who do you think?
Oh, Punk, 100%. There's no way they're changing that WrestleMania match now, unless
Agree.
there's an injury. There's no way that's changing.
Um, men's chamber. Orton, LA Knight, Cody, Javon, Trick, and Jay. Wow.
Yeah, well, I think we were right based on everything that they're saying. Reed was supposed to win last night to be the guy, and now it's Jay instead.
Mhm.
So I think we both said we thought it was going to be Reed, but
Who do you think pulls this one off?
I'm still sticking with Cody on this.
I'm going Orton.
Yeah, I was reading somewhere today too that, like, there's this rumor going around and this idea going around that maybe it's because of the ticket sale issue, that they're trying to potentially set this up for like some kind of blockbuster, you know, multiple man match for Drew's title, just to try to blow it out. So like, it's not going to be just who wins the chamber. Like, and there were the rumors that Jacob is somehow going to get involved, but maybe there's other ways they get other guys involved too. You get like I don't know, whether you get like a weird four-way, fatal four-way, or a ladder match type deal or something,
Um,
you know.
yeah. So after that, we
Might get
got.
a little out of hand, but
Yeah, I think it's gonna be crazy. I think this one's gonna be the craziest that we've probably seen in the last 5 years. Because I feel like there's a lot of external things that could happen that could change everybody's perspective of what happens in this match. And I do think you could see some crazy stuff happening with the young OG in there and Trick. Um, I think Trick. I think Trick has regressed terribly from NXT because he looks too slow from everybody that he's been in the ring with. So there's that. Um, if you're telling me what's the best product that they've called up for the next 10 years, I'm telling you, put a belt on the young OG in 3 years. I do not see Trick getting a belt within 3 years. He has everything. He just looks like a fish out of water when he's in that ring. Thirdly, sorry, we have the. Oh no, yeah. Jesus, I can't count. Um, the women's IC championship match. Does AJ get the title? They're in Chicago, Dan.
I think so. I think so.
I think so too. Um, women's chamber match. Rhea, Tiffy, Alexa, Asuka, Kiana
Yeah,
James,
I'm
and
going with Tiffy.
oh, I was gonna say that too.
Oh, that's all right. We can say the same.
And that's it. That's the card. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 matches, Dan. 4 matches. Not bad. Not bad at all. I guess since we're on the road to WrestleMania, we talked about Raw. We talked about the Chamber card. Do you want to end this on a high note with some Mania trivia, Dan? Are you up for some trivia? Do you
Yeah,
think you got it in you?
let's do it.
All
I
right.
mean, I don't know if I'll do well at it, but let's do it.
No, I'm gonna do terrible. I just know it. The Hardy Boys won the Raw Tag Team titles in a ladder match during their return at WrestleMania 33. But which team walked into the show of shows as champions?
All right, hold on. I can figure this out. um,
If you need a hint, let me know.
Give me a minute, then I'm probably gonna ask for it. But
Okay.
I know I can figure this out. Okay, so it was a triple threat ladder match, right? And
Correct.
if I remember correctly, it was Big Cass and Enzo were in it. Um, God, who else was in it? All right, give me a hint.
This tag team was fired from WWE, but then they were on Raw last night. They made an appearance on Raw last night.
Oh, the OGs, right? The good brothers, whatever the hell they were called.
Correct.
Gallows and Anderson. So Gallows, Anderson, Enzo, and Big Cass. Just tell me the third team, and then I'll make my guess. Who was the third team?
Cesaro and Sheamus.
The Bar. They were the champions.
No.
It was Gallows and Anderson.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, the hint was who it was. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. They looked like they were.
Yeah.
That's when
I
they
remember they
still
came
look.
back and they won it for a while, right? They carried it for a while, and it was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, they looked good for a while, and then it was just a drastic drop off. True or false? The only WrestleMania casket match Taker ever competed in was against Mark Henry at WrestleMania. Was it 22?
Say it again.
The only WrestleMania casket match The Undertaker ever competed in was against Mark Henry at WrestleMania 22.
Really?
True or false?
Oh, true or false? False.
It's actually true. That's the only one he had at Mania. And these are straight from the WWE website. So obviously, if they're wrong,
I think they did a bunch of those, like probably around like Survivor Series, because that was his thing for a while. Remember, he was like the Survivor Series guy.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. And he did one in. And he did one in that like in your house pay per view, right? What was that? What it was called? That pay-per-view? Was
In
it
Your
it?
House Buried Alive.
I think, yeah, he had one in there. One or two on that,
Yeah, well, that's
on
right.
those
That's
cards.
when they did like the Buried Alive matches
Yeah.
too, versus like just the casket,
Yeah.
and then right, like
Um,
him and Mankind, right?
which superstar said the following: Woodstock was to rock and roll what WrestleMania is to wrestling? A. Bobby the Brain Heenan. B. Jesse the Body Ventura. C. Gorilla Monsoon. D. Mr. Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
Oh God, I have no clue, but I'm gonna go with Ventura. I feel like it's something
Yeah,
he
you
is.
got it right. You
All
got it
right.
right.
It just seems like his old style character. That would be. I mean, he looked like he was a guy coming out of Woodstock.
Yeah. All right, final one. Here we go, Dan. You get this right, we can pretend like you got 100%. Which man is the only superstar to cash in his Money in the Bank contract at WrestleMania? A. The Miz. B. Dolph Ziggler. C. Edge. D. Seth Rollins. Don't think too hard about this.
It's got to be Seth, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say that was like the what Roman Brock cash in, right? Was it Roman and Brock he cashed in, or Roman and
Yeah,
someone
he
else? Right.
stomped Brock and then he hit Roman with the pedigree.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. So not bad, Dan. Oh,
Yeah.
here,
I mean,
here's a final one for you. Ready?
yep.
Okay, last one, I promise. True or false? Chavo Guerrero's loss to Kane at WrestleMania 24 was the shortest match in WrestleMania history at 11 seconds. This one's tough.
I'm gonna go false.
Do you? It is false, but do you know what match is the shortest?
Technically, if they're counting it, isn't that weird impromptu like Rock versus like Eric Rowan where he rock bottoms him for the pin immediately counted as a match,
In 6 seconds.
right? Yeah, right. Okay, they are counting that. Yeah.
In six
That's the
seconds.
only reason I would know that, because it was like, was that really a match? Like they kind of made it like, I remember
Poor
he like
Eric
had his
Rowan.
gear. Yeah, and then they fed Eric Rowan to him because Bray Wyatt came out, right? But then they were like, yeah, put him in. Rock bottom, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, man. It's crazy. It's crazy that we're almost there, which means better weather's upon us, which will be great. But
yeah.
also WrestleMania season as well is always great. So looking forward to that. I think Chambers gonna be very, very good. I don't think a lot of people are gonna give it credit, but I think it's gonna be very, very good. So that'd be interesting. Anything else to add right now, Dan?
I don't think so. I mean, let's hope it really picks up after Saturday,
And
and we get.
gonna are you gonna make a promise to the podcast? You're gonna try and get back into AEW?
Yeah, I can do that. Well, watching some of the stuff, like some of the MJF stuff, has been good again. Um, if I have it right, you know, Cope and Christian are teaming up again, so that would be a little nostalgic to watch. See if they
The
do
Brood
anything
2.0.
well. The Bird 2.0, yeah. Oh.
It's been better. It, it
Yeah,
it has, and I don't miss the opportunity to shit on Tony whenever I can, but it's been better. Like it's been significantly
yeah,
better, and like we said before, I think it helps having the face of AEW back. Like I think that's crucial. Having Maxwell, Jacob Freeman back, I think that's
yeah. You
you
got
can
it.
at least put your anchor on that and then figure out everything else. And they've been doing a pretty good job about that. TNA has been good as well. So if anyone's looking for extra wrestling to watch during the week, which I don't think anyone is because it's on every night of the week, check out TNA.
You know.
Mickey James is coming back Thursday, so that's awesome to see her bounce back to that promotion where she has a lot of history, which was cool. I hope it's not to wrestle. I just hope she's there to, you know, bring on the younger talent, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, until then, we should be back sometime next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, depending on scheduling, giving you a replay and some feedback on what we thought of Chamber. But until then, we'll like, comment, subscribe, Botch Wrestling Pod on Twitter and on Instagram, and this should be up sometime tomorrow evening. Until then, folks, adios.